Hey, everyone. 8 o'clock. It's the 7th of the 7th, 2025. We are, what is that, 2/3 of the year now? 66.6% of the year. The year is nearly gone. It's the time for the weekly recap, and I've got someone very special. What's better than one, Pom? I know you're all saying two Poms. I've got commentating extraordinaire. He's a genius at football, at AFL, at everything, and he's a mad St Kilda man and a Blackburn Rovers fan. So we've got a little bit of rivalry here. Blackburn and Manchester not too far away. We've got Carlton, St Kilda not too far away. I've got the great Oliver Walker-Peel. Ollie, how you doing, mate?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
Hey, mate, I'm excited about this because we had a great natter at the start of the season. I've been waiting to get you on again, and you're back blessing us with a different northern accent.
Yeah, it's slightly different. I mean, I hope people can tell the difference. You were talking about Manchester and Blackburn being the rivalry there. I was born in Manchester. I don't know if I've told you that before. You wouldn't be able to tell because it's a different accent every 15 minutes. You go anywhere in England, every 5 miles or so, you get a slightly different twang. But I'm trying to keep hold of the really northern one. It's kind of losing me a little bit. I kind of go English and then Aussie and blend myself, but we'll try and keep it English just for the uniformity of us both today on the show, mate.
Do you find, because you've lived here a while like me, that you'll go back home and your accent gets naturally thicker when you're around your mates, particularly in the pub?
1,000,000%.
But you keep the Australian colloquialisms like "g'day" and things like that. Like they've slipped into your vocabulary that you don't quite recognise until you're outside of Australia.
Yeah, I think so. I think I do. I think it's definitely Sean, give over. Sean, give over. Give over. What a great start. I hope. Well, I mean, Scottish people are great, but I don't think I do. No, I do find that I slip Australian slang into an English accent, which is kind of weird. Like that wouldn't make sense to many people. But if I was to go back home, it's my local town back in England, they'd probably think that I'm just a little bit strange. But I suppose that's normal.
It is. I do like Americans are really good. If you ever meet Americans, I work with a lot back in the UK. But when you meet them in their own neck of the woods, they associate the northern accent with Scotland because every accent they've ever heard is like Oliver Twist. So suddenly they hear this harsher sounding voice and they're like, "Oh, Scotland," and you're like, "Nah, no. South."
I'm glad Sean's just said he's winding this up. He actually does differentiate. Actually can differentiate. I like that. Good stuff. It's a great start. You know what? It's good to be back on the channel, mate. I know you said it was the end of last year. It was the end of last year, wasn't it, that I came on? And I loved it then. It was great. And it is good to be back. So it's nice to be back among the community again. And let's have a look back, eh?
Hey, mate. Well, I mean, let's start off. You are amazing at what you do. I've got to say, I listen to a lot of the local level football commentary you do. I assume this year you were doing a bit of the stateside stuff, weren't you? Was it the VFLW you did last year? Parts of, wasn't it? Did some of the ladies football as well last year?
So I did some AFLW last year. I've done the AFLW. I think it's 3 or 4 seasons now. They did 2 seasons in a year. I've lost count a little bit, but I've done a few seasons of AFLW. What was it? Season 7, Season 8, Season 9, so 3. And then I've done VFL since 2021. So I've been doing that for a few years, and then obviously the football as well. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it still. It's good fun. Had a couple of games, or 3 games over the weekend across the VFL and VFLW, and then a couple of football games as well. So keeping busy, still loving it. The vocal cords can get a little bit suspect after a weekend, let's say, but got more than enough in the tank.
I've got to say, and I said this last time you were on, but if you do get to check out Oliver, one of the big things that Oliver does that Australians don't do is you make a goal sound way better than a goal should be. And I can see that Pom stuck in you, Oliver. The goal is still king.
Well, that's what people want, isn't it? Like, you can't win games if you don't kick goals or score goals, depending on what sport we're playing. And fans want to see their teams win. And the square root of that is kicking goals. And so that's the most exciting part of the game most of the time. And you want to make it sound exciting, I think. Particularly if it's a really good goal too. I mean, I've said this to you before when we did the interview back at the end of the year. A goal when a team is 70 points down versus a goal that puts a team in front in time on the fourth is different. Goals lead to wins. Yep. No comment on that. I'll leave the Carlton fans to debate that one. But they do. They absolutely do. And it's good fun to commentate good goals. And they've got to sound exciting. I think there is a lot of good English commentators. Again, I've said this to you before, that have molded the way I work. And the really, really good ones that have stuck with me did that. And so I just try and do that myself.
I've got to say, I am waiting for you to go on like a Martin Tyler style monologue. You know, like we're famous in the UK of having them commentators that make like a theatrical Shakespeare type vibe. I'm waiting for you to do that just at a routine VFL game, 17th versus 18th.
It's been one of those where I've done it the odd time, or I'll work it in sometimes. We do start our broadcasts quite short, like before the bounce. We'll start it 2 or 3 minutes before the bounce, which makes it hard to do a monologue because you need to obviously fit in some important things like the coin toss, where teams are kicking, the changes maybe. And so it's quite hard sometimes to do a massive monologue and not fit all that in. So it's interesting. It's something that I do enjoy a good monologue. I enjoy writing monologues. I enjoy reading them. I enjoy when commentators use them. And so it's not something that I've done a whole lot, but it's something I do enjoy doing.
Hey, mate, I rate it. I do like the fact as well you've explained to a large portion of Carlton fans how you win a football game, because sometimes we are confused, mate. So I do appreciate that daily reminder. The square root of winning a game of football is kicking goals. So, I mean, I feel better now, to be honest.
I might actually keep that in commentary. Maybe I can coin that as a saying.
Mate, I think you should, like, because honestly, sometimes, like, I forget as well, mate. Like, so I'm glad you said it, because I was like, how do we kick goals? How do we win games of football? I have totally forgotten. But we are here to discuss teams that did kick goals this week, and let's bring up our amazing weird way we recap a week in football. So, Ollie, what you'll see as everyone floats into chat, the amazing Doracle, Nathan, Sean, Matt, Shiny Blue, Carlton Blazing, James, all the legends are here. We go through every game by game, and we can only move the teams up and down on our power ranking as we talk about the game. Once we finish talking about the game, they are then subject to the other teams jumping them and not. So it's a little bit of a game in a game in a game, Ollie.
Yeah, and having a look at this power ranking to start, I think it looks pretty sound. I'm just trying to think about where I might potentially be moving teams, if I'm moving them up or down. I'm already thinking about what's going to happen. So, yeah, I think it's pretty sound at the moment, but there'll be a few changes here, I think.
Well, it's a good game. It's a good game, and it creates a great debate in the chat. It's a team effort as well. We all have to agree, but we'll start. The Doggies, resounding 49-point winners. Doggies continue to impress, and evidently North's only highlight this year was beating Carlton. Evidently we were the outlier, not the ruse were coming. What did you learn from this? And chat, what did you learn out of this game with this? Did the Dogs impress you? Have North made you think, what the hell's going on?
Well, North started unbelievably well. They started unbelievably well, and I was following the scores, and I was sitting there going, okay, they could actually win this. I think towards the end of the half, they were, if not in front, if not just behind, they were in front maybe, or the other way around. I'm not sure if they were just up or just down, but they were close, and the Dogs kind of overpowered them in the second half and won the game pretty handily. But I think North are in my crosshairs of maybe moving up a little bit. I think they're on a decent run of form as opposed to what they have been over the past couple of years. They got the win a couple of weeks over West Coast as well. So I don't mind what they're doing. They've got a decent young core. And as you say, the points being made in the chat there by Taylor that the Roos played well until the last quarter. They're a young side, and so fatigue's going to happen. That makes sense. And I think the Bulldogs are a good team. They just ran into a good team. And I think North are a team that they're not ready yet. I think everybody can understand that. But there's a lot to like about North, I think.
Do the Dogs be that side that just have an ominous feeling about them, that they're not probably getting the talk about Geelong, Brisbane Pies, but they are formidable on their day?
Well, I'll tell you what, you can say all you want about the Dogs going under the radar. The Dogs never go under the radar with me, particularly because they've battered my team twice this year. I said this a couple of weeks ago. I've said this to a number of people, that's my old man there. There you go. I'm a Saints fan, just to clear up. I know someone asked further up which team I support. I'm a Saints fan, massive Saints fan, have been since I moved here. And I went to the game a couple of weeks ago on the Thursday night when there was about 20,000 at Marvel. Aaron Norton had an unreal game, and they battered us earlier in the year as well. And it's like, I always know that the Dogs are at least good, because every time they seem to run into the Saints, they have their way a little bit. So they don't go under the radar with me. But I suppose they're not talked about in the ilks of your Collingwoods and your Geelongs. I think there are maybe ladders within a ladder, if you like, of teams that are viewed certain ways. I don't think the Bulldogs are ever viewed on the top rung, which is a little bit harsh given some of the players they've got. Obviously, Sam Darcy's unreal. Bontempelli, probably the best player I've seen over the past 10 years consistently. And so, yeah, they'll give any side that they run into a problem, I reckon.
Yeah, they've also got a disgusting player from my Blues for cheap, Matt Kennedy, who...
We'll talk about him later, by the way. We'll talk about him later.
He gets a little bit of love. He gets a little bit of love, does Matt Kennedy, at Dogs, and it's amazing what he's done. I mean, I'm going to vote. I think for now, can we move the Doggies up one as well?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. A bit harsh on Adelaide given they won as well, but I don't mind moving the Doggies up. Inside the top four feels where it probably should be. On the flip side of that...
We've got to talk about Adelaide, so we can replace them.
Yeah,
so
I also...
give them a kudos.
Yeah, go with that. I would also not be against moving North up as well.
You know what? I haven't got an Essendon man on the show. I'm more than happy to move North above Essendon. Make me feel a little bit better.
Can we move teams up more than once, or are we just waiting?
Oh, mate, you can propose to do this if you want to.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. This might not be popular, and we'll talk about the team who are currently in 14th at length, I'm sure. I think we'll leave it like that for now, but they are at risk of bumping down again, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's move on to it. My Carlton Blues, oh dear. It just gets bad from worse. Carlton lose just under 60 points, 56 to Collingwood. We did have a selection on here that if Carlton did, in the unlikely event, beat Collingwood, I said that I would move Collingwood off the top. I wasn't convinced it was going to happen, and it didn't happen. But Carlton now, their form is horrific, and it doesn't get any easier. Brisbane this week. But what did you learn from these, Ollie?
Well, we learned probably what we've been learning over the past few weeks, that obviously as a commentator, I've got to sort of call it how I see it. But I don't need to tell you this because you know it well enough. Carlton are in a bit of a crisis. I don't often go to neutral games. I often don't have the time. I went to the Carlton Essendon game the other week at the G, and I was just thinking, oh, okay, maybe Carlton are starting to turn a corner. Essendon pushed them a little bit, but okay, they played well for the majority of the game. Started unbelievably well, and thinking, okay, they've got a good side. They've got an unbelievable player in Paddy Cripps. They've got forwards who can mark a ball. You've got a couple of Coleman medalists, okay, through injury or form. They've not quite been where they have been. They've got an unbelievable ruckman, who I hope is wearing different colours next year, who is from my adopted hometown as well in TDK, who, to answer that question, I would absolutely love at the Saints. There's the interesting one about Rowan Marshall and TDK and whether that works. We'll get onto that later, I suppose, when we talk about the Saints. I think he's a brilliant player, and yeah, no chance. I'm not taking that trade. I don't think, as much as I love Paddy Cripps. I'm gonna get onto my Nasiah Wangani Miller chat later on as well. I think Collingwood are a good team. I don't think we actually learned a whole lot. I know it's a long-winded answer. Collingwood are a good team. Carlton are in a slump of form.
You know what? Terry on Blue Abroad said that he felt like Collingwood were playing with their food. I had this conversation in the Melbourne Collingwood game that we watched on here. Even though Melbourne were winning for large portions, it felt like Collingwood were doing whatever they wanted and were just waiting. I from an outside looking in, Ollie, because you're not a Carlton man, do you not get the sensation? We watch a lot of football, round ball in the UK, and you can sometimes see the moment that the players have also checked out emotionally and physically. I've got this horrible Eric Ten Hag Carlton feeling that even though the players are saying they're behind Vossi, they're not.
We'll never know, will we? Even the most devoted Carlton fan won't know whether the players have lost it. The only people who will know that is that group of players. And they will never say that they won't back Vossi because they're going to back their coach until he isn't their coach anymore. And I would never want to accuse a team of not showing any heart or any desire or anything like that. It's an interesting one because you can maybe see, if you were to say that Carlton have, that Vossi's lost the dressing room or whatever it is, it's hard to I don't know, refute your opinion because they're not playing as well as they have been. But I don't want to definitively say that he's lost the dressing room because there's no way that we would know that. Can I just say, I'm getting sidetracked by some of these trade proposals in the comments, and all of them are absolute tripe. All of them are absolute tripe. I don't know if you've seen them. They're absolutely tripe, some of these. And your community's great, I'll be honest. Your community's absolutely brilliant. They've been very supportive to me, and they're absolutely
I did like
class.
this one. I do like a bit of Max Hall. I like a man that looks like he steals Mars bars.
I don't mind Cooper Lord at all. I think he's a quality player. I think he's risen from a VFL lister, obviously seen a bit of him in the VFL, and he's risen to an AFL player, a capable AFL player. Max Hall at the weekend looked ridiculous. So I think I like that we have him. I love the Flying Viking to bits. So I don't think he's going anywhere. But anyway, enough on the Saints. Sorry to get sidetracked. Just wanted to make that point.
Right. Hey, mate, get sidetracked. That's what the chat want. They enjoy it. That's why they do it.
On Carlton, there was a talk earlier up about if Carlton should be moving down. I think you had someone, I can't remember who it was, who said Carlton should stay put. Kate said Carlton should stay put.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to moving them down. I really wouldn't. And
I feel like after the FA Cup, when Man United won it, and you just knew Eric Ten Hag was sacked. Honestly, the way I feel, I want to put us here, mate. Don't worry. You've got to stop me doing it.
They're not that low. I think for now we move them down one, with a real possibility that they go down again. When we talk about the Bombers in a little bit.
And Collingwood, I suppose we have to keep at the top.
Oh, they 1,000,000% they stay there. I don't think you can move a team down if they win. I know that Geelong had a good result themselves, but you can't. It
has happened though, Ollie, on this show. Has happened.
It has, but I don't think this week it can happen. I think that Collingwood, it's the easiest decision of the lot. They stay where they are.
Well, I mean, here you are. You've got the team that Pom likes to move down. We've got GWS winning against this side's like an Ovens and Murray side, the Eagles. It's not even a real football side, but they did win comfortably. Another 59-point win, a shellacking. And there's a running joke on this show that I call them the GWS frauds. I believe people are conditioned into liking GWS, and they are not a good side. But there we are. What did you think of this game? And chat, let me know. Did GWS impress you, or was this just another case of the Eagles aren't really a football side?
Can I just say, just on the Eagles, I can't say anything bad about the Eagles, no matter where they are on the ladder, because I'm fully aware what they did to the Saints.
Yeah, look, that was an outlier. You know what? Quite funny that it happened. I've got to say, it probably wasn't funny for you, but I do a show with Jake, who's Saints TV.
Yep.
And I did say the most Saints thing ever on that show would be losing to Eagles this weekend, and it happened. So I do enjoy it. But did we learn anything about this guy?
Anything about
GWS? Did we? Did we?
No, I don't think so. I think that they played a team who aren't as good as them. They beat a team who aren't as good as them. And again, whether you move them up, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think they're inside the top 8 best sides in the comp. Maybe Fremantle, there's a discussion there about whether Fremantle are better than GWS, who I'd rather. Big game for GWS this weekend against Geelong that will really test how good they actually are. And maybe you make a move after that. Fremantle and Hawthorn as well will be a good one to have a look at where 8th and 9th sit. I'm happy to keep both of those two teams where they are, to be honest. I don't think we learned too much about either of them. We know where West Coast are, and we know that GWS are on the ball for the top 8. So I think we can progress with those teams where they are, unless you've got an objection.
No, mate, I'm with you. I mean, the big thing that makes me laugh when I watched this game was when I checked the data at the end and I saw Liam Duggan and Finn Callaghan nearly had a kilometre meters gained. And I actually had to laugh because I was like, every time Duggan gets the ball, he just kicks it as far as he can. And evidently the data bags it up. I've never seen a guy kick the ball nearly 800 metres and not really do anything with it. It was kind of a special gift, that.
Yeah, meters gained is a good stat. I do enjoy meters gained as a statistic. Like, we'd never think about it in football. It wouldn't be a thing. I actually saw something in terms of comparisons between Aussie rules and football. I can't remember. It was a TikTok I saw about the obsession with disposals and how there's no other sport that counts how many times you get the ball or the object of, I don't know what you call it, the object of wanting.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was cool. But meters gained is one of my favorite statistics. I don't know why. There's something about it.
You see, I'm a big sucker for meters gained per disposal. That one turns me on. Like, how far do they gain with each touch of the ball? I always like that one. That one's a Pom favourite in this household.
Yeah, right. That's not one I really think about too much, but there you go.
You are right. You are right, actually. Can you imagine saying, "Oh, Bruno Fernandes had the ball 82 times"?
No, yeah, exactly. Like, there's every other sport that I watch, and I watch a few of them. There's a few sports aside from Aussie rules that I really, really love. There's none of them that talk about how many touches of the ball you had, or how many times you had the puck in ice hockey, or how many. Obviously, you know how many balls there are in a cricket innings, but it's not really fascinated on unless it's like Cheteshwar Pujara, or he's scored 5 off 300, or if it's Jamie Smith scoring 120 off 90 deliveries as he did the other day, which by the way was ridiculous.
You got the cricket reference in. I love it.
Yeah, I can't wait for the Ashes this summer. I really hope it goes well for us. But no. Well, there's a lot of them, mate. We have a lot of them now under Brendan McCullum. It's fine.
That's cool.
Yeah, we love it. But to shift on from this game, both teams stay where they are.
Nah, I'm with you. I'm with you. You know what, actually, just before we leave the stat chat, it's quite funny you say that because I was actually chatting to a mate in the UK and we were talking about goal assists. No one gives a shit in football, do they? You hardly hear, oh, XYZ creates so many goals. No one really cares, do they? Like, but in AFL, it is quite a big thing, the goal assist. But like, genuinely, since the 90s, no one cares if you create a chance.
I disagree from my point of view that I love FPL.
I do.
Play FPL. So that's why I care so much about assists. That's the only reason I care about assists, I think. But
no, I agree. It's just for
that.
average UK fan will never sex up a guy that creates chances, will they? It's like, if you don't score goals from central midfield, no one cares.
Which is a bit harsh, but yeah, I suppose. I love this chat, by the way. That's a good one. Well done.
We are doing watch-alongs for the Ashes.
I'm definitely going to Melbourne to Boxing Day test. I'm going to Brisbane for, I think that's the second test. So for the days that I'm not going, I might have to tune into some of them. But yeah, it should be pretty obvious. Obviously, I'm an Australian citizen now, but I don't think there's ever going to be a world. I don't know if my dad's still here. We've had this discussion so many times. There isn't a world where I will support the Australian cricket team of the England one because of the fact I was born in England. I love, like, if the other Aussie teams, Socceroos, Matildas, I'll support them and want them to do well if they're playing. But with the cricket, England all the way, I think.
Hey, look,
that might not make me popular, but
mate, look, the chat know me. I'm like Gareth Bale. Look, I have England first, Australia second. I mean, always will back the Poms in. Do you know what I mean? Always back the Poms in. Always back my boys. But talking about teams we love to hate, and has perfect time, as our guest last week, lunchtime catch-up, good day to you. Gold Coast looked like at first there might be a shock here, but then Essendon did Essendon things, didn't really come out in the fourth quarter, and Gold Coast got a fine win. But I've got to say this, Gold Coast now starting to make that Marvel curse look pretty good.
Well, this was the point that I made privately when we played them there. Is, okay, it's Damien Hardwick. He's had his vocal discussions about Marvel. And since then, he's pieced together a few wins there, which is working well for him. I thought the Bombers actually did some nice things in this game. They've got some players that I quite like the look of. And obviously, they've been done in with injuries to good nose. They've had to get so many players out of their VFL. Zach Merritt, again, ridiculous, 40 disposals, as you do. Nick Caddy, I think, is going to be one of my favourite players to watch over the next 10 to 15 years. I think they're a side with a lot of upside. If they can, of course, win a game in September, which they haven't done. I think I was 7 months old when they last won a game in September, which is quite something.
It's a good start.
Yeah, it's one of those. But the Bombers, I think they've got some upside. And
I'm with you there. You know, I actually think, what I do like about the Bombers? I've got to give them credit. They are my fierce rivals, so I do like hanging shit on them. But I do like the fact that they look like they're committed to changing a little bit of arrogance around and doing the hard work.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that there's a knock on the Bombers that when it's mattered, they haven't been able to, when the whips get cracking, they haven't been able to stand up. I think they've got a few players in that team who can stand up. One of my favourite players now, particularly out of the VFL, I love seeing players who start in the VFL get their chance and stay there. Keep an eye on Zach Johnson. Absolutely love watching Zach Johnson play. And I think that if he can stay fit, he's going to be one of the best draft steals that we've seen in recent years. I know you cover the draft extensively. You go through every prospect almost, even some of those that don't get drafted. But Zach Johnson, for me, is one of my favourites to watch. I'm just now thinking about whether Essendon shift. And I think their fourth quarter performance, if not for that fourth quarter performance, if they showed a bit more in that fourth quarter, Angus Clark exactly the same. I might have wanted them up here, up to 15th. I don't think... let's face it, I think I'd rather be in Carlton shoes than Essendon shoes. And so I think they stay where they are. With the Suns, I don't think that they can displace Hawthorn. So I think that they stay where they are as well. If there was a team that wasn't Hawthorn in there, I think that Hawthorn are, it's unreal to see a team like Hawthorn in 6th, given the quality of the teams above them. But I think that these teams just stay where they are. If you would want to move, well, no, you wouldn't want to move Carlton down 1, but if you put forward a motion to move Carlton down 1 and put the Bombers up, I would pass that. But I'm going to leave that one to you, I think. I think it's very close.
I do love this. It's a bit like our season, Langy. That
crossed my mind. That crossed my mind. Build it for suspense.
It's just like, it's coming, but it's just been teased. You know what? I mean, the only thing I can say is the last time we played, we beat them, but my big fear is, I keep saying it, obviously I agree with Ollie, you never know if the players have checked out. I just feel there is a massive spark missing from Carlton, and I think that that's the spark that did all the wonderful things in 2023, and I feel like the spark has been extinguished, which is worrying. So I do feel, if Essendon didn't have their injuries, I do feel we would be having a serious conversation that Essendon are better than Carlton on their day. It'd be very interesting, that final round game, when you suspect Essendon are nearly 92% fit. And you'd imagine they'd want to end the season pretty strongly. That will be a fascinating game, I reckon. That's what I'll say on that.
What you'd want to decide with these two, I watched the SEN on TikTok. They do their power rankings, and Jared Waitley talks about a play-in game. You'd want a play-in game this week to decide 15th. But you look at Essendon's results since losing to Carlton. They got done by 95 off Geelong and then 41 twice either side of their bye. So they've lost by 41, 41 and 95. I don't think that's conducive. As not good as Carlton are going, I think that Carlton are still a hair above. Toss a coin. Got a 50-cent piece here. So I could maybe toss it, but I'm going Carlton. Just.
Yeah, mate, I am with you. I mean, honestly, like, to be fair, like, if where they are, it's like giving me a choice of 2 random people to bang my wife. Like,
it's the Gary Neville clip, isn't it? Have you seen the Gary Neville clip?
I mean, to be fair, it'll be interesting, because if we do lose round 23, I might do the Gary Neville. I might do this was the banker. This was the one that never fails.
Or in your case, the Jamie Carragher. He may have actually picked the wrong club.
Right, it's fascinating, but I mean, we'll leave them where they are. We come on though to the Cats, who I do think no one's talking about the Cats, but they have been mighty impressive. They had that little blip against Brisbane, but I don't think anyone's talking where the Pies are incredibly controlled and just seem to ball the game out and play it on their terms. I don't think anyone's talking about Geelong have added this disgusting ruthlessness around them that they are beating up on teams when they get ahead.
The thing about Geelong is, and of course they won this game against Richmond without Bailey Smith, who was of course a late out. We can't move Geelong because Collingwood are where they are, and Collingwood at the moment, this is a pro-Carlton chat, I understand this, Collingwood are the best team in the league. So we can't move Geelong up because Collingwood are where they are. George Stevens is a great person to talk about. I think I commentated his debut back in the VFL a couple of years ago, and you could just kind of tell that he had a little bit extra. He's had to wait a fair while to get his go in the AFL, and he's going to be a hard person to shift out of that team, given how well he played. Geelong have to stay where they are, as we said, because of Carlton, and I think that Richmond stay where they are because West Coast is slightly in a worse position. But you're dead on. Geelong are a very good team. They have been a good team, aside from a couple of years. They've been brilliant ever since I got here. And so I'm just used to seeing a very good Geelong team. This is up there with the best Geelong teams I've seen.
They've got that ruthless streak, and I agree with the comment here about the loss to Brisbane. Agree with you, Wolfie. That's probably their only blip that I said just at the start of talking about them. But even when I watched that game, it did feel like it was very hard work to beat them. I do feel like Geelong, though, have just added this dangerous edge. Usually, it feels like Pies and Geelong have swapped positions. Like, Geelong now have this real ruthless, rugged streak that I'm used to them being the controllers of a game. It does feel like now they've got this dirty edge. And much love to you, Timmy. Cheers for your chat tonight. But yeah, I do feel like they've got this hard edge to them, which has impressed me this year.
Yeah, they're a Geelong team. They've got the Geelong trademarks coursing. I think that boyhood Saints fan Max Holmes is someone I'd love running around for the Saints right now. He's another one that I just love to watch. I think he's brilliant off halfback. You could play him in the midfield if you wanted to. You could do what Ross Lyon did with Naz on Saturday and just move him wherever you want. He's ridiculous. He's a smooth mover. You get so much of the ball. Geelong are well positioned, as they genuinely are all of the time. And yes, yeah, I don't know. I've had to, I'm happy to answer the question about the Saints. I don't know if it needs to be put on the bottom of the screen that I'm a Saints fan and just having coursing along the video printer along the bottom of the screen, like the old Sky Sports Soccer Saturday type go. But yeah, I'm a Saints fan, and I do want to talk about the Saints in a short while, and I'm sure we'll get to them.
We are nearly there.
Yeah, Geelong stay where they are, and so do Richmond, which is a couple
I couldn't agree more. I think Geelong, though, credit to them, and we do talk about the team that did knock Geelong off recently in Brisbane. They got a very, very solid 28-point win against Port, who Port are starting to have a bit of a tail wag recently. We talked last week, Sydney and Port were the two teams we picked out to be the finals ruiners of other teams. But this game gives me that query about Brisbane. And the big question I have about Brisbane is at times, for some reason, Geelong and I know this sounds ridiculous because Brisbane beat Geelong, but I'm never confident Brisbane are going to 100% win. Where Geelong and Collingwood, I'd be shocked if they lost a home game. Brisbane just feel like they are gettable for some reason. And it's that forward line. That forward line screams, I need Cameron to kick 5 or Zach Bailey. Doesn't feel like it's going to beat you unless someone has a blinder.
Yeah, they've lost a couple at home. If you look down, they've lost 3 at home this season. They don't have a great home record. So they're, I think, 5-3 or 6-3 at home. So they lose the odd game. I remember they went through a stage of just losing big finals a few years ago before they obviously went on and won the Premiership last year. So I can understand where that comes from. I still think they're an unbelievable side. They're the reigning premiers, for goodness sake, so you can never really count them out until they've lost at the final siren. But yeah, I kind of feel like I talked about ladders and tiers before and rungs, whatever you want to say. I think that Brisbane are separated from maybe the top 2. I think the top 2 stand on their own. Collingwood are slightly ahead, but there's no one alongside Geelong. I think it's Collingwood, Geelong, and then there's a few teams below them, below Geelong. And I think Brisbane are on that level there. So again, I think that Brisbane stay where they are. Port, you're not moving down. You're definitely not moving down, and I don't think you're moving them up either on account that they lost. So I think, again, this is another way you just keep the two teams where they are. I'd love to be moving teams everywhere and making this, deciding something with every single game. But I just think that would be a bit disingenuous. So I think we keep the two where they are.
Mate, I'm with you. I think my only reservation with Brisbane is I still have this gut with them that I feel like the Crows and the Dogs can beat them. But it depends what day they turn up. I feel like I agree with you. I think number 1 and number 2 can have a 6 out of 10 day and beat anyone 3-8. I feel like Brisbane still have to play 8 out of 10.
I'd still back Brisbane in against both the Bulldogs and Adelaide, by the way, personally. I just think that Brisbane have got a little bit more about them, unless, of course, you get one of the Bulldogs forwards playing unbelievable. I think that where we've got them in the power rankings 3, 4, 5 is where they are for a reason. And
I agree. Sustained. I just feel in a one-off game, I just feel Brisbane needs so much to go right. Where I feel like the Doggies and Adelaide have a game plan that could go cocoa bananas for one game.
Yeah, I think that I still think Brisbane have got something there, and I don't think they are as invincible as the top two. So I think there are more cracks with them when you look down their lines. They're not quite as well versed as those two. We were having a look though that Brisbane rarely lose at home. If you look at Brisbane, the teams that Brisbane have lost to at home, they beat the Eagles, they beat Geelong, which that was a long time ago. Lost to Collingwood, they lost to Melbourne there a few weeks ago, and then lost to GWS. So they've lost to some teams that aren't at the level we think that Brisbane are at. So maybe their home record isn't as good as we think. I mean, and to be fair, good teams should win at home. Good teams should win every week at home. So it's one of those things that at the end of the day, and also if you tag on from that, they're not playing a grand final at home. They're playing a grand final at the MCG, which of course they've just won the most recent one they played in, so we can't knock that. But you can't just be good in Brisbane and win a premiership, as Brisbane well know, because they've done it.
No, mate, I agree. I think Travis has been a bit mean. I think you've only got to go back and watch my content last year. Round 12, I called Brisbane would go unbeaten and win it. I love the Lions. My only issue with the Lions is I just genuinely feel there's just been a few little chinks in their armour. I think they're an incredible outfit, though. Like, I wouldn't want to play them. But I just do feel sometimes they can. But then we move on to the greatest team in the world that you want to talk about. Your Saints. They had chances to win this, Ollie. Like, it does feel like a forward half problem. But credit to the Hawks. The Hawks getting the job done. But I am a big advocate of the Saints list on this channel. I thought that just screamed you need 3 pieces in that front half.
I tell you what, the first one's coming from Icon Park this summer, so that'll be nice. Look, we could have very easily won this game. We could have, and I am a massive fan of a few players on our list. Taru is unbelievable, and he would have played the week he got suspended. Absolutely would have played the week he got suspended, I reckon. Max Hall was brilliant. Oh. And yeah, Max Hall, again, another one that's come through the VFL, was really good at Box Hill. And then when he went to Sand, he did well, deserved his chance, and he's been brilliant this year. So I think he's great. Give Naz the keys to Marabin, please. And also a contract to sign. I'm really nervous that he'll leave. I hope he doesn't. I think he'll stay. If I had to say, is he going to leave? Is he going to stay? I reckon he'll stay. And he's got the upside that the Saints really need. I think he gives us something that our other players don't have. Of course, Sinclair's brilliant. Wilkie's brilliant. Although I don't think he had his best game at the weekend. Cal Wilkie, as brilliant as he's been since he came into the Saints side. Look, I think that we have some players that have some real upside, and yeah, I'm really hopeful that we can get somewhere. It's just it's interesting with your own team. You put a different light on them, don't you? Because you don't want to overinflate your love for them and talk about them better than they are.
Yeah, I'm probably nicer about 17 other teams than I am Carlton. I'll be totally honest.
I think it's a good thing, by the way, with the Saints having their own AFL team, and I think it's good for Sandy.
As well.
I think it'll be good for Sandy. Sandy will have a couple of lean years, but I think it's a mutual split for a reason, and I think that'll work out fine. 23 teams in the VFL is going to be interesting, but it's just similar to having 21, I suppose. Of course, Tassie coming in next year too. Do we want to move the Saints? I liked what Melbourne were doing, but I don't know if I'm conditioned to move the Saints down. Similarly, I don't know if Port are at the level we can move Port down. So, again, I could be talked into moving the Saints one either way, but I think split the difference and keep them where they are, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because Port have had a little bit of form, haven't they? They've shown a little bit. It really, that middle tier from about 11 to 16 is like up and down, isn't it? Like it could do anything like that. I really do think the top 6 in this, well, the top 5, I'd probably draw a line at the top 5. I feel like the top 5 are probably the winners coming from that group, innit?
I would say so. I reckon so. I don't think there'll be one outside of that. I thought that Melbourne showed signs on Sunday. I was preparing to move St Kilda down for the majority of the chat, but I think, and particularly given we beat Melbourne a couple of weeks ago as well, we're not going any lower than 13th. But again, I'm up to you if you want to move them down one or move them up one.
Look, I'm happy for it to stick. I am happy for it to stick. But, I mean, then we go to the other game, and we were talking about this at length last week. Sydney were our team that we did talk about are probably the worst side to play, because if they go in with the mindset of ruining finals for someone with their full-strength team back, they potentially do that 2 or 3 weeks because they're playing everyone in that top 8 and around. They could find themselves in a late surge, and Fremantle did Fremantle. It got a little bit hard, and Sydney got the jump on them, and that is my query about Fremantle. But he does say how important Errol Goulden is to Sydney. Since he's come back, they look in different level, and I feel like Errol Goulden doesn't get the kudos that he probably deserves. I think he's another level when he's on the park.
I think we talk about Victorian bias, don't we, sometimes when it comes to the AFL. I'm not sure it's true with Errol Goulden. What I would say is if he played for a Victorian club, that fans of that Victorian club would be absolutely loving him. I think Errol Goulden is a genuine star, and he's made an impact, as you say. Not been playing all year, comes back in, is really important, and it's the question: do we move? I think we move Sydney, but it's a question of how we do it.
I feel like we do this.
Yeah, with it, 100% with it. And just on Sydney, just quickly, their VFL team did lose, and I was always gonna mention the point, and it's dovetailed perfectly into this comment you've got from Wayne here. The Northern Bull Ants winning this week against Sydney, which was unbelievable, by the way. I saw a stat, or heard a stat, that the commentator from the game used, Justin Edwards, who's a Sydney-based VFL commentator, does a lot of the games up there. The Bull Ants have had 6 wins. I think it was since COVID. I can't remember. Since 2021, maybe. But their last 6 wins, 3 of them have been against Sydney. So, Sydney VFL, the Bullets are giving them nightmares, and it's obviously great for the Bullets to get a win. But back to the AFL, I think that's probably what I'd be doing too. I think that the Dockers, you've got to drop them down because of the loss. I'm not sure if I'd rather have GWS or Sydney. That's the only thing, is do you move...
Sean is turning me on because everyone knows that I'm Travis reckons I hate the Lions, and I'm very complimentary on the Lions usually. The team I really don't like is GWS. Like, I'd happily do that. But I do feel... I'm a firm believer that when in doubt, refer to the ladder. And I do think GWS probably deserve to be ahead of them. But I'd love to put them ninth, just so you know. Everything in me wants to put them ninth.
I don't think it was a Sydney performance that warrants them moving up 2 spots when we've been so attentive in moving to 1. So I think Sydney starting 10th. I don't think I'd put them 8th. And because of that, I think I'd keep that where it is. Just because...
it's going to be interesting this week. This week is... I feel like this might change next week, because I feel like if Brisbane do a number on the Blues away from home, and say St Kilda do a number on Sydney when they have to travel, I think we could totally change this ladder around. I think, though, if Sydney do a number on Saints, we can have that conversation. But be interesting to see how Sydney go away from home this weekend against a battle-hardened Kilda.
I'm looking forward to that Sydney Saints game. I don't get to many Saints games, obviously with all the commentary work and everything, and my schedule's cleared up. There's a chance I do go to that Saints game on Sunday, and I'm really looking forward to it. Sydney always tend to beat us down here, but I'm not sure how we'd go. But I'm looking forward to it. It should be 2 relatively matched sides. I think Sydney are the slightly better side, but I don't mind what Sydney are doing. And I suppose we'll see how we go.
Mate, I mean, there it is. And then we've got the Crows. The beautiful Crows. We watched this game. Pushed all the way. One thing that has impressed me about the Crows, and you know what? I'll give Travis some love. Right? It links up. I would say the 2 most surprising teams this year are Brisbane and Adelaide. Brisbane, they found a way to really, really change their forward line entries without a natural player like Joe Danaher. I think that's been incredible, and they've booked the trend in the early predictions. But I'd say Adelaide, the conversation Adelaide had in the first 6 rounds was they can't keep destroying teams. They've made noticeable changes to try and control the game and not go hammer and tongs for 4 quarters. And I know a lot of people are saying it's only Melbourne. I agree with Bluebagger. I feel Melbourne are a very dangerous side, and they proved that this year. I felt that they're hard to break down, and for times they slowed Adelaide down. But what we praise Collingwood for is their ability to change in-game. I thought Adelaide handled the early fire from Melbourne incredibly well, and then did enough when they were very wasteful early in the game. I think Adelaide are just quietly incredibly impressive, and I don't think they're getting enough love.
I think the gap between 4th and 5th is incredibly close, i.e. between Bulldogs and Adelaide.
It's a game close this week, isn't it? It's the game of the round this week, seeing them 2 go off.
Yep, and I think that Adelaide are 3rd.
I think Adelaide are definitely I think Adelaide are definitely here.
Yeah, I would agree. The onus is on the Bulldogs to win that game, and I don't know who your guest is next week, but I think I don't know if I can lay down a law here. The winner moves to 4th.
Oh, 100%.
The winner of that game has to move to 4th, or stay in 4th in Adelaide's case. If they win, the winner goes 4th. And I think Adelaide at the moment are probably a side I'd rather beat. The game's at Marvel, which should probably help the Dogs out. But yeah, Adelaide are a good side. Adelaide are a really good side.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's impressed me. Like I say, I think no one's talking about it. The conversation at the start of the year was Adelaide can't keep doing this. And I think their system change in the year to showcase control is incredible. Like I think they are learning something. Rochelle is a big out, I think. But I do think it's probably the best injury to have if you had to pick one, because I do feel like they can negate him not being there for 6, 7, 8 weeks and him coming back finals. He seems like a finals player, but I agree. And Melbourne, I do feel like Melbourne are good, but my issue, and I agree with Blue Bagger here, you can't look past the 11 losses and the fact that I feel like Melbourne, they've lost 5 in a row now. Like, it comes close, but I always worry about that. Close wins are the same as close losses. It becomes a habit.
I think Melbourne showed enough, particularly early in the game, to stay where they are. North are arguably in better form than Melbourne at the minute. I mean, by the fact that they've got a win in their last 5, they are in better form. But I don't know if you can drop Melbourne below North. I think that some of Melbourne's best players and some, important players that they've got haven't been who they are. I was having a discussion with a Melbourne fan over the weekend who was saying, oh, what if we trade Petrarca? What if we trade Clayton Oliver? What if we do this and this and this? Who could we get? It's weird where Melbourne sit. I'm not quite sure where Melbourne sit. They're kind of in an in-between phase of they've got an incredibly talented list. They've got the best ruck in the competition. They've got Petrarca, who's brilliant. They've just signed Cozzy Pickett to a long-term deal, who, by the way, Cozzy Pickett is one of my favourite non-Saints to watch in the league. I'll back Cozzy Pickett to the hills. I think that they stay where they are because they've had 5 losses in a row. If they're to lose another one, they've got North this week. So again, it's one of those. The winner of the game gets the 13th. We can't shift Melbourne because they've lost 5 in a row. But there's a chance they could be dropping below North. And goodness, if Carlton can find a win against Brisbane, maybe they're dropping down into the bottom 4 next time you're doing this. But yeah, I think they stay where they are.
Yeah, I mean, look, my caveats, because this is how it looks like it's going to end, because I can't move Melbourne up. I will say this, the difference between Melbourne and Saints is, I always say this about Saints, I don't think they have the star power. I think you've got Nass and you've got Sinclair, they're good players, but I think you look in the midfield, look at Melbourne's midfield, Oliver, Gawn, Petrarca, you don't have midfield that's close to that. And look at the results this year. They're identical, 5 wins, 11 losses. I think if you give Ross the boss Melbourne, they do a lot more. He does a lot more with it. I feel like your team is full of role players, needs the sex. Melbourne has got the sex appeal. It just looks totally disjointed.
Get that on a quote card. Get that on a quote card. But it's also the thing that if you look where the Saints stars are, and there's a lot of Saints fans in the comments that have been across the night, to me, the best 3 Saints players, and I think that it's probably unanimous, Naz, Jack Sinclair, Cal Wilkie. All of them are in the back 50. And one of them's key. One of them's a key defender. Cal Wilkie's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Probably another All-Australian Blazer coming for him at the end of the year. But Sinclair and Naz, as good as their ball use generally is, they can generally get the ball up to the wing, or if they get to break forward, they send a kick inside 50. They're not going to be kicking goals for you unless it's Naz having a bomb from 60 or Jack Sinclair having a bomb from 60. They're not getting forward. They're not hurting you directly on the scoreboard. And their kicks inside 50, okay, they might lead to a mark inside 50 for a forward, but our forwards haven't been singing off the same hymn sheet. Some of our delivery inside 50 over the weekend against Hawthorn wasn't great. So there's a fair bit that that St Kilda need, and I'm saying that as a Saints fan, I'd love to see us get every single good player in the league and win the Premiership. Of course, that's what I want. But yeah, Melbourne probably have got a better current list, although there is a lot of promise on the Saints list, as we mentioned earlier on with Taru, and I like Toby Travalia, I like Max Hall, but I think that depending on what we're thinking about Rowan Marshall, maybe the star power comes with TDK, but who knows?
Big Max King fan.
It was an interesting one when they were drafted. I was hoping that we'd take Max over Ben, which is obviously what we did. Ben now, partly due to Max's injuries, is the better player because he's getting on the park and he's kicking goals and he's up the top of the Coleman. Well, not right at the top, but he's in the conversations, one of the best forwards in the competition. And Max, unfortunately, can't get his body right. He's got plenty of time with the contract that he signed, and I really hope he does because he's shown glimpses. You're taking Ben now, but if Max can get his body right, of course, you know all too well about, big key forwards who've had plenty of knee injuries and come back and done well, i.e. Charlie Curnow. If Max King comes back and does what Charlie Curnow's done, we've got a pretty good key forward. So I'm not counting Max King out at all. It's just more so that Ben King's playing and he's got a better run of injuries, that he's showing what he's about. But yeah,
I think
he's going to be a big one to come back in too. By the way, Max King, if he can get his body right, there's a key forward who's a marking presence. Not the best in front of goal, but if he can sort that out, we've got a presence inside 50, which is currently what we need.
I feel like you need a midfielder as well. Like I look at your team. I always say this to my wife because she's a massive Saints girl as well. That I just look at your midfield and feel like you need like another Nas who can roll through the midfield, give it a point of difference. And I did think it was Bergman. Like, I was huge on Bergman coming to Carlton. And I said to my wife, he would be the huge game changer for Saints if you got him and TDK. If you link them together, I would probably go as far to say you'll break into the top 8. But it's interesting. Who do you think that midfielder is, Ollie?
Well, I mean, I when I think of trades targets, I try and be realistic because obviously, if you insert an Errol Goulden or a Marcus Bontempelli into the midfield, you're going to look unbelievable, aren't you? But that's not going to happen. Zach Butters would be unbelievable if we could get him. If there's
that is who I've been on all year. I'm like, if I agree. I understand TDK coming because I actually think he'll profit from Rowan Marshall. I think there is money out there in Rowan Marshall, and I think it's going to create a ruck chaos ball type thing, and I think that's why you're doing it. I think you're clever. You'll get money. But I would be throwing the boat at Zach Butters, man. Like, the boat. Because I think he's everything you want. Tough, attacking, quick. He's everything. He's the Swiss Army knife.
How many times have we thrown the bank, though? Like, when I first moved over, it was Nat Fife who we threw the bank at. We've been linked with Dustin Martin. We've been linked with... I'm sure there's been links with Bontempelli too, with how he's going. There's been links with...
You can't get one through the door, though. You know what it's like.
Exactly. But this is my point. Like, Matt Rowell. Like, how many times can we say... Finn Callahan, there you go. There's another one in the chat. Thank you, Bailey. I don't know how much truth there was to that, though. There might be some there, but, another link. Like, it's happened a lot. And I like the Marshall discussion because I think I'm not sold on the fact that if TDK comes in, I'm not resigned to the fact that Rowan Marshall leaves. I remember, it might have been the first COVID year, the year we made the 8, and we had the double of Paddy Ryder and Rowan Marshall. That was probably the best Rowan Marshall one of the best bits of Rowan Marshall that we've seen. So maybe we can go with a double and get Rowan Marshall resting forward or TDK resting forward and the other one in the ruck. So I'm not exactly sold on the fact that Marshall leaves if TDK comes in. But yeah, that's a lot of talk about the Saints when we weren't actually covering the Saints game. We've done that already.
Yeah, hey, look,
but-
I like to
yeah.
spread a bit of love, man. Look, I
Yeah.
love I think it's an interesting conversation. I'm sure
Yeah.
I'll be doing way too many videos on it. My standpoint is, and Mitch nails it, I feel like TDK isn't a forward ruck. I feel like it's an AFL myth. The guy's tall and athletic, so he can go forward. And when I watch Rowan, I think Mitch has nailed it. I see more of a forward who can ruck and not a full-time ruckman. But I do think the way the AFL works, because everyone is so stupid, that they'll overpay on Rowan Marshall. I feel like teams will overpay. If, say, Carlton lose TDK, Carlton will go out and buy one, presumably, is the rumour. I think that will cause chaos and it will suddenly overinflate the value. So I could see someone playing a first for Rowan when he probably isn't worth that on an open market.
Well, it's easy to forget. It's something that I was thinking about the other day, actually. We had Tristan Sherry, I'm sure, request a trade to come to St Kilda, which would have alleviated all of this. Darcy Parish is well under contract.
That's a great shout, actually. That's a great shout by Trav Dog.
Would be if he was out of contract. I don't think that he's under contract till 28. So unless he wants to leave, which I doubt he would, he's the type of player for sure. But the contract ones, it's, players have to be kind of coming out of contracts into free agency, if there are any chance. And I'm not sure that Darcy Parish is that. He's not coming out of contract, so.
Call me mental, would you? And I know the Essendon podcast is in here lunchtime. Let's just say Draper left to Adelaide, right? Would you entertain doing something like giving Rowan to Essendon? And I know this might be mental, but doing like a little pick swap for someone like Andrew McGrath and playing him off halfback and moving Nas full-time into the midfield. And it's as simple as that.
Oh, this is like doing calculus at 9 o'clock on a Monday night. I don't know if I'm...
Can you imagine having the big dog Nas full-time in the midfield? Because that probably is the answer.
But we can do that without moving Rowan Marshall. Like, we don't have to move...
You don't. But if that's just... Because I feel like having a forward would be easy to replicate. Like, because if Max King is fit, Cooper Sharman, you just draft... There's a lot of young key forwards in this year's draft around your picks that could just play the third tall to start with.
I would like... It depends what the Saints are thinking, really, because if we think we're going to have another lean year, I wouldn't mind moving Naz into the midfield and maybe slotting Travalia in to get him developed. Maybe. I wouldn't hate that. He's kind of a similar-ish prototype that I've seen. That the Saints, he's a bit taller and obviously can take a good mark, we've seen, but he can provide some run off half back, decent kick. So I wouldn't mind shifting Naz into the midfield and that spot being taken by Travalia. There's also Darcy Wilson, who's been in and around the VFL, who's not had as good a year as his first, but he's still a quality player for mine and has enough. So yeah, I think we can leave the trade talks as fun as they are till September. And I think that when round one comes around in March next year, and the Saints have inevitably now signed TDK, Butters, McGrath, and everyone else, then we can have... Not actually what that all won't happen, obviously, but you see where I'm coming from.
Flag Saints, mate, if that happens.
Oh, yeah.
Flag Saints.
Oh, yeah.
You know what, Teresa? She's a great supporter of this channel, is Teresa. I am looking forward to 2026 doing this channel and getting excited because I've got Hayden Skipworth and he's brought over Jamie Elliott on a 2-year deal to Carlton.
Would you imagine that? Would you imagine that? It's one of those...
Jamie Elliott in the pocket. Feed it to me. Fuck PDK. Give me Jamie Elliott.
So I'm a massive. So if I bring the ice hockey into this a little bit, there's a player who I'm a Maple Leafs fan, and they're a team that haven't really done a lot in the playoffs. And there's a player on a rival team to ours called Brad Marchand, who every time he plays the Leafs in the playoffs, knocks us out. And there was talk of him signing for the team that I support. And it's like, oh my goodness, he'll finally stop getting my team knocked out. That would be it with Jamie Elliott, with you lot. I.e., that game at the end of, was it at the end of 23 or the end of 22?
22, yeah. That's honestly, when I go to bed, that's the last thing I see in my eyes. That vision, that Durden being spun round 3 times, handballing straight to a pie. That plays on repeat, mate, in my brain.
That's the reason for me. I don't think we'll ever see Jamie Elliott in any other colours, but I definitely don't think we'll see him in blue just for that reason. And he had it to us in the 2 series. I was going to make the point because the Essendon one was ridiculous in itself. But, and this is the thing, we talked about English football earlier on. Can you imagine if we just had willy-nilly all these players going from Man City to Man United? Carlton to Collingwood is a massive rivalry. It's not like the swaps aren't going to happen. It's not just like Alex for Solo. That's the only one that I can remember.
Yeah, Alex Fasolo, a man who introduced himself to me and said, "Call me the Prince of Perth." I knew he was shit when he did that. That was when if you've got to introduce yourself as your own nickname, you're not a good footballer. Yeah, you know what? It is a pipe dream. You know what? It's funny because Tim Membry, a famous St Kilda guy, I was huge on Collingwood signing Tim Membry. That was a lot of my trade. I was on Swoop Luke Pies Footy, selling him to him. But I did say as a joke, he always has a habit of turning into prime Tony Lockett versus Carlton. So there is a part of me that would just like to buy him to stop him having his 4-goal game. And what did I see this week? Him absolutely bully a 12-year-old boy.
Can I just say on Tim Membry, for a long time in my, late childhood or, I moved over here in 2014 when I think that Membry might have moved here around then, 2015 maybe. He was my favourite player at the Saints. I loved him. He was brilliant. And his performance against Collingwood, I was there in the stands, really, really hurt. When I saw him celebrate, and you have to. I'm not one where I'll say, "Oh, you don't celebrate against your former team." He absolutely gave it everything, and I'm like, why? Why did we? Because he's the player we wouldn't mind having back right about now, a forward presence. I'd take Tim Membry be playing. He'd be playing every week if he was still on the Saints list. But yeah, you can.
It's always a weird thing.
You can have him. I'm gutted that we let him go. I'm glad he's doing great things for you. And to be honest, if Collingwood are going to win another premiership, I want him to kick the winning goal.
Yeah, you know what? Cooper Sharman, Mitch, I know you guys love him down there, but he's just basically Jake from Saints TV in the weight room. Same person, man. I've never seen Jake and Cooper in the same room.
I will say, when we played the Dockers on that Friday night that all of AFL Twitter seemed to hate, Cooper Sharman was brilliant. And the Saints fans that were there were just doing the old chant of Cooper Sharman. It was the old Coop, there it is. And it's been stuck in my head ever since that game. And
Coop, there it is. That's genius.
That's the one. And they were running with it the whole game. And we kind of made a running joke out of it. And every time I think now of Cooper Sharman, it's that.
Yeah, mate, I love that.
I like him.
You know what? I'd love Bailey Fritsch, but the only problem with Bailey Fritsch is that I take the piss out of him every game because he looks like Beavis and Butthead. And I think that might cause issues with any potential friendship or relationship we might forge after that. I've been always awful with that. But you know what? We end with the best thing, right? We end with the best thing. This is going to be brilliant because if we Go to this. Guess the player. Right, we'll see. 8. 8 is the record for this by our good friend at Pies Footy. But I reckon we've got a good chance this week because we have got a Pom. And everyone knows 2 Pom minds make it incredible, right? Because we're on the same wavelength. We grew up on gravy and cups of tea. We have a sixth sense for what we're thinking, right? So what this game is a little bit like football charades, right? I've got a name player. So let's just say we were talking about let's say we're talking about halfback flankers. I would say Ollie, he plays for St. Kilda. He's got a hyphenated name. He's probably your best player. You'd go...
Yeah, Nasiah.
Yeah. And you get a point. You get a minute.
Yeah.
And that's how we're going to do it. Today, randomly...
Have you muted yourself?
Can you hear me? Sorry, I'm not to the microphone. I'm not. But so we've got key forwards this week. These are only key forwards as voted by the AFL champ starter. So there might be a few anomalies in big men, but it is genuinely real big men.
Right.
You can use chat. Chat will help you. People like Sean. People like Langy, Teresa, Kate, they spend way too much time with me. They usually know what I'm getting at. Are you ready?
Yeah, mate. Go on.
All right, here we go. Plays for the Bulldogs. He's probably an alien. He's about 900 centimetres tall.
Sam Darcy?
Yeah, this guy could also be an alien, 900 centimetres tall. Plays for Adelaide. Has a fluffy beard.
Riley Thilthorpe?
Yeah, this guy plays for Geelong. Potentially their best
Jeremy
forward.
Cameron?
Yeah, this guy plays for GWS, used to play for Melbourne.
Hogan.
Yeah, this guy plays for Fremantle. He's probably their only key forward. Yeah, this guy plays for Hawthorn. He does great dance celebrations, used to be Gold Coast. Yeah, this guy plays for Melbourne. His surname loosely rhymes with milkshake.
Melksham?
Yeah, this guy, complete scam artist, went to Brisbane, came back to Hawthorn for free.
Gunston.
Legend. Yeah. This guy, the kind of thing you eat at 3 a.m. after the pub, plays for North Melbourne.
Sivalaki. Nick Larky.
Yeah. Oh, we've got 10!
Let's go!
10! We got 10! I told you, chat!
Let's go!
Let down! It's because we keep getting Australians. We get a Pom. We get success.
Can I just say, that one is for all of the Twitter comments that say that I don't know anything about the game because I'm Australian. There you go. Have some of that.
No, I knew it was going to happen. I knew one day we would get 10. I have promised the world we would get 10. And everyone's been like, oh, you're never going to get 10. You're never going to get 10. But it happened today. Even Mrs. Pom got excited. Mrs. Pom was like,
very nice. Nice.
Mrs. Pom was there like, he must have done well there.
Yeah, I will say, Teresa, look, you can only, what's the old football saying? You can only beat what's in front of you. Like, 10 naming 10 names in a minute is kind of impressive. That's what, one every 6 seconds? Yeah, can we just overlay... Oh, it's God save the King, or Jerusalem, or whatever it is.
Land of hope and glory.
You'll say that there's a cheat sheet there. I asked for a brief of what was happening. I had no idea that this was coming up. I had no idea that this game was a thing, that I was playing it. And yeah, look, there we go.
Hey, hello. Yeah, you see that, Mrs. Pom's giving him kudos.
I'll take that. Look, yeah, photos are a bit of an interesting one, but that's fine.
Well, that classic Australian say.
Yeah, you've also picked a photo of wearing an Australia scarf there. So if we're trying to keep the pomminess going, no, I do love. It's a Pararoos scarf. I love the Pararoos, so we can keep hold of that one.
Hey, look, do you know what I mean? Like, classic Australians, like Mitch. There. Look, Mitch. Say, Poms couldn't beat you fairly, could we? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But now we come.
No reverse sandpapering required.
Hey, do you know what I mean? There was no mince here. To be fair,
Michael Atherton was from Lancashire. I love Michael Atherton.
To be fair, I didn't even prep him for this, so I've thrown this on him.
No, I see that's Paul Sebastiani with 5. I've worked with Paul before. So
yeah, you've got Paul, you've got Dylan with 5, Saints TV and Woody. True Blood, Swoop Luke, Footy Mailbag. Remember, chat, Swoop Luke, he got naked. He used to be number 1. Then Pies Footy beat him, but now top of the ladder, the reigning defending.
Can I just say, Saints on top of the ladder sounds about right, that doesn't it?
Exactly.
Saints on top. Saints on top.
I can't believe Mitch as well. I love the fact the Saints camaraderie goes out of the window when a Pom wins.
You were backing me up this whole time, Mitch. Come on, man.
Chat don't know that if you're going to prep anyone, can we Lek Dog?
Yeah, to be fair, Lek Dog is like my best mate in the wide world, and like Lek Dog like got 4. Like the guy, I mean, I speak to him more than my wife, and the bloke bloody completely bailed. But then we go to this, and a big shout out to our guest last week, Lunchtime Catch-Up Pod, who got a staggering 846. He is the new clubhouse leader. We are playing for the PommyInOz Supercoach ring here. We've had some great scores. And this is, we've called this team Team Pom Rovers.
Nice. Love it. Can we just scroll can you scroll all the way back up to the top of the comment section when we talked about Matt Kennedy, please? Because this is when I said earlier on, we'll talk about him later. This is when we bring in Matt Kennedy. I love Matt Kennedy. I think he's great. And he's in my team. This Supercoach team is kind of an interesting one because it kind of mirrors my Supercoach team. And my Supercoach team this year hasn't done very well. It started really well and then kind of tailed off a little bit. I want to explain a little bit as to why I've picked this team. Naz is the obvious one because it's Naz. He's ridiculous. Lockie Ash. I started with my Lockie Ash in my team. I think it was 1% had him at the end of round 1. I had him. He was brilliant for me early. I think he's awesome. He's one of my favourite players to watch. Noah Anderson was my captain last week. He's mint. The Suns are great, and I think he's one of their best players. Hugh McCluggage playing Carlton. So, enough said. Jack McRae, second Saint. I think he's been good. Nice dual position in there as well. So you've put him at forward, but we can move the magnets around a little bit if we need. And just on Hugh McCluggage, by the way, he's a good player as well. So it's not just the fact that he's playing the Blues, but
he's pretty good.
Obviously Matt Kennedy, good player. Maybe one that might not be advertised to score too many, but might surprise. And then Brodie Grundy. Anybody who's been playing Supercoach, he's had an unreal last few weeks. So I want to try and capitalize on that. So, yeah, I've had a pretty bad Supercoach year compared to what I usually do. I love playing it. So let's see how we go. I'd love to be on the top of that league, so I doubt it, though.
Hey, mate, look, nothing would make me happier if you take out all 3 of our little competitions, honestly, to be honest, Ollie. Like, I would be the happiest host ever. There would be so much speculation. I've manipulated. I've got on the phone somehow and rang all these players and gone, you better perform this week.
Knowing me, it'll be the opposite. Knowing me, Naz will get tagged. Like, Jack McRae will have about 2 disposals and they'll send someone to him. I don't know. But I think I'm not as likely to get on the top of the ladder here, but I'd obviously like to. Let's see how we go.
Mate, we'll be backing it in. And we finish finally quickly with the tips. Again, shout out.
Goodness.
Lunchtime catch up. Who joins the top of the leaderboard? We're back to full 9 games a week because the AFL did this weird bye thing. But you'll see there, Lek Dog, Navy Blue Corner, and Lunchtime tied at the top with 8. Me and Kid and McDonald, we did the bye week. We got 7. 6 is common in these full game weeks. We had the extra bye weeks where people got 5. Footy mailbags sneak on there above the others with a shorter game. But A to B, you know what? Big shout out, Sean, if you're still in here, because Sean last week said that these were the easiest fixtures, top 9 versus bottom 9. And he absolutely, unfortunately, if he went with the favourites, he would have got 9 out of 10. He picked a shocker, but we'll go with the tips. So, first game next week, Carlton, Brisbane. Who are you backing in?
Brizzy. Next question.
Hey, mate, look, I'm tipping Brisbane, don't worry. I'm tipping Brisbane, don't worry, sir. Collingwood, Gold Coast at Gold Coast.
I really like this game. I really want to tip the Suns. I really, really want to tip the Suns. And I'm going to do it.
Oh!
I'm going to go against Collingwood.
Well,
I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I've done it.
Hey, do you know what I mean? Sean, if he'd listened to you, we would have a new leader, 9 out of 9, mate. He wanted the shock, but he should have listened to the Sean dog. Hey, look, Teresa's giving you big props in the chat. I reckon you've probably just lost her there. Quality. I like it. You've got to keep Teresa on her toes, though.
I've just got a feeling I like the Suns, and I shouldn't tip against Collingwood because Collingwood are the best team in the comp. But I've got a feeling about the Suns.
Hey, Teresa, we're more than just an accent. We're also wind-up merchants. But Dogs versus Adelaide. This game, I think, is the tie of the round. I am so excited about this game.
Yeah, me too. I think this will be a belter. Bulldogs for me, just because it's
Can I just
marble.
say $2.40 Adelaide at the minute? I think they're very long odds for a team that I don't think there's much separating them apart from stadium at the minute.
I'm not at all a betting man, so I'm not going to be swayed by the odds or encourage the odds or whatever else. I think the Bulldogs will win. If it was at Adelaide Oval, I think I'd be going the other way, but yeah, I'm going with the Bulldogs. There's a comment there saying that no one actually likes the Suns. I went and watched the game of the Suns last year. They played against Port Adelaide. I bought a Suns jersey, which I don't know why I did that. I bought a player issue Leo Lombard 54 Suns jersey before he got drafted because it's Leo Lombard and I thought he'd do incredibly. There we go. I don't know where mine is. Mine's in here somewhere, but it's right. I think it's right at the back there. I'm not going to get it out.
I'm a sucker for a pink shirt, to be fair.
Yeah, well, we're talking about the Blackburn third shirt that I was running around before. That's at the top here. There you go. Pink shirts. There you go. Look at us go. Look at us go.
That's a... Hey, look. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Just proves Blackburn Rovers are real men because wearing pink in -10 Celsius just shows how masculine those heroes are.
There's a very good chance I'm going back to watch a Blackburn game in August, end of August. There's a very good chance I take that one back and wear it.
Oh, mate,
it's class. That's one of my favourite Blackburn shirts ever.
Mate, it's a proper kit. A proper kit, mate.
There's got like a map of Blackburn on it as well, which looks unreal. Yeah, I'm a huge Blackburn fan, so anytime I can get to wear that, I will. So there you go. To segue away from the tipping competition to talk about my football club.
Hey, look at that. We've got Blackburn as well. I mean, Saturday, looking at this fixture, I don't know which idiot at AFL House signed it off, but they are the best fixtures probably of the year because the next game is GWS Cats. in GWS, but that's another ripping game. The Cats, probably their hardest fixture till finals now, and a chance to keep the top 8 guessing, because I feel like no one wants 8th. And if Geelong win this, it opens it right open.
Geelong will win this, I think. I think this will be a ripper of a game, and I'm seeing that, you know, I've tipped an away team. I think that's the first away team. Oh no, I tipped Brisbane, which of course. But I could see GWS winning this very easy. I think this is a harder game to tip than maybe some might give it credit for. I think this will be a good game to watch. I just think Geelong will have enough, although I'm not super confident.
It is a 50-50 game. I mean, another one, I know we don't like condone gambling on here, but I think $2.20 for GWS to win that is also ridiculously good money, because I don't think they're that long odds. To be honest, I'd say that's a 50-50 game. But then the evening gets incredibly tasty. Richmond versus Essendon at the G.
This will be closer than people think too, but the Bombers will win here.
You know what? I think that's like probably the best game, like real intriguing game. We're live for that game. I just find that a really entertaining game to watch, because it could be anyone. Could be anyone. And this is an entertaining one. Fremantle need to keep winning. And the last team you probably want to entertain is a team itself that has top 4 hopes. Hawthorn. This is like a real, probably answers what the rest of the year will go. Like it's an 8-pointer, as they say in the UK.
Well, they'd call it a 6-pointer, but I see your point. Yeah, they would. It's a 6/8 pointer. But no, absolutely they would. It's a big game for Fremantle, and I don't think they'll win it. I think that Hawthorn are a good team, and they weren't at their absolute best, but didn't have to be against the Saints at the weekend. I don't think it Hawks by a lot, but they'll have enough.
You know what? I always say this about Fremantle. That is that game that I am so sure Hawthorn win. But in typical Fremantle response, they'll win it by like 45 and then make us question everything we've said about Fremantle for the last 6 weeks. And they'll get 2 weeks if they are the team to beat. But interesting. This is another great game. Sunday's actually pretty good as well. Melbourne entertain North in a banana skin game for Melbourne, I feel.
I think this is a 50-50 one. I think this is absolutely a 50-50 one. I'm going to go Melbourne based on the players that they have. Although, of course, North have already beaten Melbourne this year. I would not at all be surprised if North win. This is a really, a sneaky tough week to tip. Because that game, I think, could go either way. I think there's a number of games that could go either way. I think that, who was it? Was it Lunchtime that got 8? I think he had an easy run at it. I think that last week, I think that's a fraudulent 8. That no, it isn't. But this is a tough week. This is a proper tough week. I think Melbourne will win. But goodness, this is not an easy week at all.
You know what is absolutely fascinating about last week is I actually feel sorry for Lunchtime, because Sean told the world it was top 9 versus bottom 9 before everyone stole it, which I thought was a great little bit of knowledge by Sean. But he had this theory that every week there's a shock. So he tips against the odds, which usually works for him, but it's just quite funny. He tips against the odds and paid in. Incidentally, odds on this, I've just checked, $4.50 for North to win. That's ridiculous odds.
Yeah, like I say, not a betting man, but I wouldn't have thought that they'd be at that.
That's like Brighton at home. That's like United playing Brighton at home and everyone going, Brighton have got a chance, but then you look at the odds and it's $3.70, and you ask any United fan, they're like, nah, we can lose that at home.
United are going in outsiders every time they play next season. I don't know why you're bringing United in as the example, as if they're like, if we're back in 2011 and Sir Alex is still in charge.
No, but I mean, last year, if you were a betting man, they still thought we were 2011 United because we'd be like $1.40, and I'm looking going, we won't beat Brighton, and I actually made quite a bit of money tipping against the grain. It was actually quite therapeutic to put $20 on and be like $60 in the green and be like, I lost, but at least I've paid for my Uber tomorrow.
Well, wins. The Macca's little wins.
Hey, mate, you gotta. St Kilda, your boys entertain the Swans in a game I feel is a real test for the Swans if they can be the heartbreakers of 2025.
I think I have this conversation a lot when I talk about tipping, that you've always got to tip your own team. I don't and won't here. I'm going to tip the Swans, and that's purely because if the Swans win, I get the tip right. If the Saints win, I'm happier. So, of course, I'm not saying that I can't lose because I can, because obviously the Swans can win, and then I lose. Get the Sean Dyche. I'm not a massive fan of him, given the Burnley connection, but there you go.
Game's gone.
I just find it hard to see, particularly what the Swans did. I'd love to be wrong here. I'd absolutely love to be wrong. I'd love to be singing the Saints song, going across the platform 28, and being in that knock knock video after a win. I would love that. I'm just not sure it's going to happen.
Oh, Sean's made it. Sean's been mighty good at the tips this week. That I might steal Sean's lock of the week tomorrow on Footy Abroad. I might steal it because I don't mind that. I do not mind it. But we finished with this game has got Port Adelaide written all over it. Port Adelaide versus the Eagles. But if ever there was a game that historically Port lose, it's this game. I can genuinely see the vibes are high at Port. They seem to have found something, but then they'll fuck up.
Just on the point, just quickly, one last one on the Saints, because there's a comment coming from Mitch saying, I hope we lose for the draft. I'd always rather see my team win. We're going to get a top 5 pick probably this year anyway. We're going to get a good player come in. And I think that winning does a lot. So I'd rather see us win. But of course, I suppose if we lose, then maybe a higher draft pick. But I'm just delaying the inevitable here. Port Adelaide will win this. And they should win it relatively comfortably. They really should. Of course, Sam Powell-Pepper's gone down, which is a real shame. But Port Adelaide, if they don't win this, goodness me.
Yeah, it's just that thing that I always take the piss that Port are a team that only win when someone calls Hinkley a CUNT in the papers. And the last 4 weeks, Hinkley's getting a bit of love. So they're genuinely due we're good now. Everyone likes us again. And then the Eagles roll them and it comes back. Get rid of Hinkley. Give Carr it now. And that's how they end their season.
They play Hawthorn and then they play Adelaide in the next 2 weeks. I'm just going through Port Adelaide's fixtures. Then play Geelong. So them next 3, it's one of those. They just have to bank this one. They have to bank this one, or else they're not winning for a long while. Can I just say, I just want to quickly get my tipping up because I should know the score that I'm on. I don't. I saw that was the 109 came up then, as in somebody's got 109 this week. Just to make sure that no one takes my word as gospel, I've missed a couple of weeks. I've missed a couple of weeks of tipping. I've got 87 correct tips this year. So I am so far off the top. I've had a dreadful year because I subscribe to the idea that there's always 1 or 2 upsets every week. And all of the upsets that I've tipped, a lot of them have been wrong because I've tried to be clever and against the grain. Nice. I've tried to go against the grain and be clever. and it's not worked. So I tried to outsmart myself. So, yeah, I'm not the one. I'll take the one with the key forwards and the 1 minute, the time thing. I'll take that. The other two, I'd be very surprised if I'm at the top of them by the end of the week. But let's see. Let's see.
Hey, look, we can always hope. But I mean, the PommyInOz tipping league, I'm gutted Sean didn't get to join it because I reckon you might be winning it. What are you on, Sean? Let us know. But out of nowhere, PRJRM, PRJ, what am I on about? PJRM. I don't know where I got the fucking A from. I just made that up. But yeah, well done to you, mate. 109. Just taking the lead off our 5-round leader, Methodical Flame, MRL, Big Tiger Time, who's always in chat, Peter Harewood, Scotty, Will, Tyson, Claire, clinging on to top spot with Neil. And then if we go down, let's see. I did see Mrs. Pom jump up. Mrs. Pom, another full house this week. It's moved up to the top 25. Double dummy. Just ahead, Rocco, you're in chat. I've seen you. Where am I? I can't remember. Oh, here I am, look. 97 for the Pom.
Yeah, and I'm on 87. So that's kind of dreadful. I did go 9 from 9 this week, which is nice.
Hey,
but
you should do. Langy, which are you? Langy, let's have a look. Well, you're one of these. Langy's one of these. He said he's one more than Pom. And also, he's noticed, if Langy notices, he talks about Pom's cheating. What he hasn't worked out is every Thursday, I've been forgetting to tip. So I deliberately get the away team because the away team always wins on a Thursday. Big man things, that. Big man things. And we can't do the tipper of the week because half the league got 9. There was only like 4 people that were ambitious, and they were ones who chose Carlton. So ambitious or naive, whichever one you subscribe to. But Oliver, if these wonderful people follow you on, I believe the best place to find you is on Instagram. You do a load of work. You always publish, don't you, when you are out there doing the commentary, what you're up to. That's how I always find you, Ollie. I always see you do the football games. You post them.
Yeah, that'd be the best place.
What are you doing anyway the next couple of weeks?
VFL for all the Aussie Rules fans in here. I'm chilling around the VFL. I know someone mentioned AFLW a long way up here. I wanted to get to the point, but we kind of progressed past it before we could get back to AFLW. I'm super excited for the AFLW, and I'll be hopefully working on that a little bit as well with a couple of community radio stations, which should be fun. Oh, don't make that one stick, please. Don't make that one stick.
That's brilliant from Sean.
Don't make that one stick. Oh my goodness. that one's been there for everybody across my whole life. That's the first time I've got that. Yeah, well done. Well done.
The child in me enjoyed that.
Oh, well played. But yeah, AFLW hopefully, and I am very, very hopeful that there is some traveling coming up, some work travel. Very hopeful. Not 100% locked in yet, but keep your eyes peeled, and hopefully there's some cool things on the way. But definitely AFLW coming up soon. The rest of the VFL men's and VFL women's season, I've got 2 games this weekend, both the games at Frankston, which is Frankston, Port Melbourne, and Richmond, Southport. So Friday night and Saturday afternoon, I'll be there doing those games. So if you've got a free Friday night or a free Saturday afternoon and you want to listen to more of me, then AFL Live app and AFL.com.au is where I'll be. But I'll usually put them up on my socials. I try to. I do forget sometimes if I'm doing like 5 games a week, as I did last weekend.
I've got to say, there is something quite appealing about hearing a Pom talk about, because obviously you don't hear yourself. So believe it or not, I don't watch myself talk about football, but it is nice hearing a different accent talk about the game. I find myself, I engage better with a Pom accent. It like engages me a little bit. So it is quite novelty, but you're doing incredible, Ollie. Like, honestly, massive fan of yours. You're a great guy anyway. You're a great human being. And I wish you all the best. I hope to see you at the World Cup. I hope to be doing some watch-alongs on here and be like, oh, hang about, I know that voice.
Yeah, well, hopefully that'd be nice, wouldn't it? That'd be one day down the line. That'd be lovely. That's the dream, and we should. By the way, Kate, that's a wonderful suggestion. We should do that at some point. 100%.
You know what? I do think
100%.
me and Ollie need a show next year. I reckon two Poms talking about the football is what the world actually needs.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look.
Hey,
We'll
mate,
have a look.
Well, thank you very much, Ollie. We've got what have we got on this week on this channel? I don't know. It's a short week this week because Carlton obviously play Friday to Thursday, so they've given us prime time. So there will be a VFL wrap coming out tomorrow some point. I will try and get some confirmation of when we're doing the selection table. I do believe we're doing it tomorrow. Whether that means I have to retire from footy abroad for this week, I'll let you know. I'm still waiting for the boys to text me back because evidently I don't get text back from my team anymore. I've lost the players. They rebelled. And then the watch-alongs this week. Unfortunately, I know the Collingwood fans are going to cry. I am at Marvel this weekend on Friday watching Melbourne play Wrexham. So I'll do the Carlton game. I'm tempted to do the Doggies game, but I might be going to that game, so I can't promise that. But we will do the Richmond game in the evening, and we will probably do the St Kilda versus Sydney game because that one tickles my pink. I will do my best, though. I am waiting for the boys to see if they'll do a late night show tomorrow. But evidently, the three guys I speak the most to don't warrant replying to me. Two of them have seen my message, and I haven't even fucking replied, so they can get fucked. But I will see you tomorrow, twice live or once live at Mel. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Ollie, again. Can't recommend Ollie enough. Great human being, absolute legend as well, and I love him to pieces. Well, definitely have to catch up for a beer and stream that.
Sounds like a plan, mate. Whenever you want, mate. Whenever you want, we can make it work. Maybe this summer with the Ashes, eh?
I reckon a watch along, you, me, some beers, and 100 odd Australians giving us abuse is content.
That sounds like hell. That sounds like hell. I've lived in this country 12 years. That's all I've ever got is Australians abusing how not well our cricket team's gone against them. I don't know if I need more in the chat.
They're a good bunch. But thank you very much, everyone. Cheers for joining us this evening, and we will see you. I will see you tomorrow. But thank you very much, Ollie, and see you else, everyone.